Hoop 7 proudly brings to you Basketball Hustle.
Ellis fumbled the ball. 2 on the shot clock. Throws up a prayer. Yes! As he was falling to the ground, it's a 3. He shot it literally from the hip.
Definitely a highlight.
Here come the Billikens. 4 on 2. McCall. Ellis. Left corner.
We missing out.
Bang! From way down under. Cody Ellis. Reddick brings low out away from the best. Stolen away by Cody Ellis. One man to beat. To the hole. He's fouled. Layup. Good. Whistle foul. Count the best.
Ellis for the reverse. Through fingertips. What a move. Ellis drops in a bomb.
I love seeing Cody Ellis coming out feeling good.
Ellis. Cody Ellis. Ellis. Pull-up jumper. Cody Ellis. Bang. Cody Ellis, can he stand and deliver? Cody Ellis.
Now it's time for another episode of Hoops Heaven's Basketball Hustle.
Hello and welcome to Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle. We're back after a little bit of an absence, but there's no shortage of basketball for us to talk about. I've got a big announcement to get through from my co-host as well as we approach the NBL 24 season. We've got an NBL1 season to look back on. Yeah. We've got a World Cup that is still happening, but unfortunately the Boomers are no longer part of it. So plenty for us to get through as we look towards the NBL season here on Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle. I'm Chris Pike, but the man you've all tuned in to hear from, a man who's going to have plenty to talk about on this week's show, Cody Ellis. Thanks for joining me once again.
Mate, good to be back. It's you're right, it's been a while. Has been a bit of a hiatus here, but no, look, good to be back. And yeah, fair bit going on.
We'll get to it later, but we've always called you the Warwick Senators captain on this show, but as of the end of this past NBL1 season,
yes,
it's no longer the case.
No, it's not. It will be the ex-captain now, or retired captain. So, no, look, time to hang him up, mate. And yeah, it was a big decision, but something that I decided earlier in the season. And once I'd kind of talked it all out with the family and, you know, made that final leap and accept that that's what I was going to do, it was a massive weight off my shoulders. So I think that it was a pretty good sign that I'd made the right decision.
Yeah, I always feel like if the feeling after you make a big decision that you feel is relief, then you probably know it's the right decision. We'll talk about it a bit more later, but how does it feel now knowing that at least at a semi-professional level, you've now played your last game of basketball? Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. Look, it's sunk in a little bit, but not fully. I think it won't fully sink in until probably January when pre-season rolls around for the boys and I don't have to wake up on a stinking hot Sunday morning and go train. But yeah, look, it's been good. It's been good. Have already felt a bit of a life balance change, which is nice. Yeah. Look, obviously it's going to be a lot of fun being around the little fella and watching him go into his basketball life, if that's what he wants to do. I think at the moment soccer's on his mind, which is pretty cool. Something different. But yeah, just to help him through all that kind of stuff will be fun.
What's the one thing you're most looking forward to about life that's now not surrounded by basketball? Because really, since you were, probably even before you were a teenager, basketball's been your whole life.
Look, I started playing when I was, I think, 6.
Yeah.
So, and at a decent level from probably about 14, my first under-16 state team.
Yeah.
Even the year before that was ITC with Murray Tressiter. And so it's been at a good level for quite some time. So it's been, about 20-something years, 25, 26 years of basketball constantly and year-round. And it's going to be nice to not have to worry about any of that for a while. I think we'll be going out on the golf course a lot more with Corbin.
Yes.
And going out and getting frustrated with that, which will be a bit of fun. And then, look, like I mentioned, spending more time with Lauren and Chase and, helping Lauren out a bit more and being able to do that. It'll be good. Be good, mate.
All right, we'll talk a bit more about it later. We're obviously here thanks to Hoop 7. You're great friends with the team there at Hoop 7, Cody. Have they been? You might not need as many basketball shoes now, but I'm sure you'll still find plenty of reasons to pop in.
I absolutely will, and don't worry, I've already told Jace that just because this is happening doesn't mean I'm not going to come into the store and spend my money there. So, that was one of the first things the missus asked me as well once the season was finished was, well, you're not going to go buy any more shoes, are you? I went, no, that's not the case at all. Not the case at all. So, look, I'll still find my way in there plenty of times.
Yes. Well, as you've seen, I've got my own pairs of shoes here, and I don't even need them on a basketball court. So whether you're playing or not, you'll still find a reason to get some. Now, we're getting very close to the NBL season, Cody. We've got an earlier start. It starts at the end of September, so we're only a bit over 3 weeks away from the season starting. We're a week and a half away from the Blitz starting.
Yep.
A lot of the teams have already played some preseason games. You've got the Perth Wildcats in the US right now to play the G League Ignite team.
Yep.
Yeah, so the action's heating up. We've got a lot to get through in terms of how everyone's looking coming into this season. But over the last couple of months since we did our last show, is there any news that NBL clubs have made that have really stood out to you?
Look, nothing too out of the ordinary for me. I think just the player movement, as always, has been fairly crazy, and it's always good to see. It's always fun to see the pieces that are moving, and what teams are thinking, and getting Jacob Wiley in something that we called midway through last season that we thought should have happened to make them a legit contender.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's a great point. We felt like he was the exact play that Adelaide team needed at the time. They ended up going the total opposite direction, getting Ian Clark.
Yeah.
But now they've got him for this year.
Yeah, and I think that's a massive get for them. I think that just kind of changes them more on the defensive end.
Yep.
And I think that's something that they definitely need. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to see. But look, good to have guys like Denzel Valentine who will be interesting to see how he goes in the league. Certainly a bit of a different league than what he's used to. So he's going to be an interesting one to watch. I think he'll probably take a little bit of getting used to with the league. But, look, getting guys back like Jalen Adams is going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
I think another probably big one for me would be Finn Delaney. I think him coming back is huge. Just for the league in general.
Yeah.
I think a guy of his caliber to want to come back and play in the league is huge. So it's going to be fun to watch him.
Absolutely. So when we last spoke, we talked about potential candidates for the Sydney Kings coaching role.
Yep.
They've ended up filling it with Mahmoud Abdul Fattah. What do you know about him?
Not a whole lot, actually. So, look, from what I've read, he sounds like he's going to be great for them.
Yep.
Like I said, I'm not 100% sure on his background and all that kind of stuff. But, look, from the couple of interviews that they've had with him, he sounds locked in. He sounds ready to go, and he
speaks well, but he also speaks like he's gone to a lot of effort to learn the league already.
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen before coaches come out. Dean Demopoulos comes to mind, who made no interest in learning how the FIBA game was played, the NBL game was played, didn't know anything about his opposition, but this guy seems like the total opposite.
He does, and I think that's credit to him, but also credit to the league.
Sure.
With how far it's come since even Dean.
Yep.
And look, quality coaches understand leagues, and they want to know leagues and get to know how to be successful in that league, especially when they're coming in fresh. So
he feels very similar to Chase Buford to me, not in terms of the personality.
No,
you're different.
Quite opposite, I think.
In terms of ambition, he looks like a guy that is using this as the next step in his career.
Yeah, he does. And look, the Kings staff had a massive choice this offseason in picking a head coach, especially after Chase coming in and doing what he did in his short time. Yep. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. But look, from the outside looking in, it sounds like they've made a pretty good choice.
Yes. Now, let me run through some of the new imports. You've mentioned a couple already, but do any of these guys stand out, or do you know much about any of these guys? So you got Jamal Franklin, Chris Smith, Patrick Miller, Bobby Clintman, Gary Clark, Zylan Cheatham, Parker Jackson Cartwright, Denzel Valentine, who you mentioned, Jordan Crawford, Josh Roberts, Jordan Usher, Will Cummings. Know much about any of them?
And I'm now at that age where lots of these guys are too young for me to have known them properly.
Yeah.
Look, obviously Denzel Valentine, watched him when he was going through college. Again, like I mentioned, I think he's going to be someone that if he can figure out the league and the refs properly, I think he'll be really good.
Yep.
But look, like all of these guys are going to have to figure out how to play here. Because it is a different ballgame. It's completely different. It's ref differently. It's played differently. The things you can get away with and the physicality are completely different to what I'm sure any of them have played before. So, look, I'm hoping that there's going to be some real standouts. And like every year, there will be. I know there will be. But it's going to be the guys that figure out the league and figure out their role in their teams that are going to be fun to watch.
Especially if you're big.
Yeah.
You just got to work out how to stay out of foul trouble.
Yes, very much so.
We've got some big names returning. So Jacob Wiley we mentioned as well, but Ariel Huckporty back from his Achilles injury, but Matthew Dellavedova back, Finn Delaney, who you mentioned, back, Justinian Jessup, I'm excited to see him back, Craig Moller back, Jalen Adams, who you touched on as well. Jonah Bolden will be a fascinating watch to see how he goes. And Ian Clark now, we'll get to see him for a full season for the first time at Melbourne.
Yeah. Yeah, look, lots of good names in that list. Obviously, good to have a player with the caliber of Delhi coming back and got his last little stint in the NBA, and that was awesome to see. Huckporty, I really missed watching him play last year, and I know that they missed him on the court.
Yep.
So he's going to be good to watch. I think just from some of the clips that I've seen, he looks in unreal shape, and he looks like he's going to come out and make a statement, which is going to be
It's amazing, isn't it? We saw something similar with Jack White.
Yeah.
He came back from an Achilles and was a better athlete.
Yeah.
It looks like Ariel could be the same.
I think so. And that's going to be lots of fun. So Jessup, look, we know what he can do.
Yeah.
Again, always good to watch him play. Craig Moller, that's going to be an interesting one to see how he fits in and how he's evolved his game while being away for a couple of years now.
Talk to me about Jonah Bolden. What are you expecting?
I'm not sure. I honestly am not sure. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched him play a full season somewhere. And
well, we don't know. He hasn't played a full season anywhere.
And that's what I mean. Yeah. So, look, he's got the potential that he could be really good, but he's also got that potential to be a bit of a bust. And we don't want to see that because, it's someone that, a few years ago was pushing for a boomer spot.
Yes.
And
he was in the NBA.
Yeah. So, look, I think hopefully he's got his mind right, he's got his body right, and he's ready to go and he's buying in.
Have you ever come across him much?
No, not really. No. So, I couldn't tell you what he is like as a person, character-wise or anything like that, unfortunately. But, look, fingers crossed that he comes good because he could be a lot of fun to watch.
A lot of movement and a lot of players that have left, and there's some surprising names here. So let me know if any of these that you're especially surprised who aren't coming back to the NBL this season, Cody, or you're disappointed aren't coming back. So Antonius Cleveland, Robert Franks, Daniel Johnson, Tyler Johnson, Andrew White III, Michael Frazier II, Rajon Tucker. These are the three interesting ones for me. Barry Brown Jr., Derek Parton, and Jarrell Brantley from the Breakers, Tayshaun Thomas, Brady Manick, Ryan Brokoff, who's retired, Derek Walden Jr., DJ Vasiljevic, Tim Suarez, Justin Simon, Josh Majette, Rashad Kelly. Anyone jump out?
That's a heck of a lot of talent.
It is.
Of players leaving the league. For me, Antonius Cleveland's going to be one that I'm going to miss watching.
Yes.
Just the way he could change games and flip them on their head in 2-3 possessions was awesome to see.
We talked about it last year. He'd put his Superman cape on, and all of a sudden they became unbeatable.
Yep, exactly. So he just needed that little bit of help. Was all. DJ.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird to see DJ not in the NBL. I'm very happy that Adelaide have decided to retire his jersey, which is awesome.
Yes.
I mean, for someone to leave or up and leave and, the club that you've played with for majority of your career decide to retire your jersey straight away
immediately,
means you've done something right.
Yeah.
And I think that is massive credit to him and the club as well. So that's great. And I love to see that, especially with a Perth boy.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And then, look, I mean, could go through the list. Everyone on that list is going to be missed in this league for sure. DJ Vasiljevic, someone, again, could turn a game on its head in 3-4 possessions and come down, knock 3 or 4 deep threes and just completely change the game.
Well, here's an interesting one. Do you think he comes back at some point this season, or does he stay with his 2-way contract in the US?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It'd be an interesting one. I think it's that fine line of the 2-way contracts are really good because you get to play in the G League as well, and you're closer to the action. You're closer to the coaches over there. You can get called up,
You can get a
be like,
contract immediately.
Hey, we need you here for 10 days today.
Yep.
Bit different when you're over here. You're kind of that. While the league is on another level to where it's ever been before, you're still a day and a half away from the US.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think he stays there. which I think will be good for him.
Yeah.
I think it'll be good for him. And look, the way he shoots the ball, and not just shoots the ball, but is able to get in the paint and create
He's a scorer.
as well. He
He's a
is
scorer,
just a
yeah.
flat out scorer.
Yeah.
I think a team will be able to use him at some point throughout the season.
Yep.
You know, so that'll be interesting to see. The Breakers big three.
Well, we talked about the potential of all three coming back. In the end, none of their imports have come back.
So that's going to be interesting to see how they've recruited in the off season, because there's some big shoes to fill.
And they took a parting shot at Derek Pardon when they signed his replacement centre as well, which was interesting.
Yeah, that
saying
was.
they've got an upgrade on him.
Yeah,
which
that's
puts a lot of pressure on.
It puts a lot of pressure on, and I'm not sure how accurate that really is, to be honest with you. But again, haven't seen them in training camp or anything like that, so we'll see what happens. But look, again, signing Finn Delaney, it's an interesting one, I think. Everyone on that list is going to be missed by the league, and look, happy for Rowdy. Ryan Brockhoff, who's decided to retire and hang him up as well. I think that's probably a good decision. His body just couldn't hold up anymore, unfortunately.
I imagine we're going to see him a lot on our coverage of the season this coming year.
I would assume so, which would be good because he's a really good basketball mind, so that's going to be great.
Some players moving clubs as well, so interested to get your thoughts. So Trey Kell has gone from the Phoenix to Adelaide, Shannon Scott from Cairns to Brisbane, Jason Kadee going back to Adelaide, Keanu Pinder, we've talked about him coming to Perth, DJ Ho going to Sydney, Mango Madiang ending up going to the Breakers, and Luke Travers going to Melbourne, which we did discuss on our last show. Marcus Lee going down to the Jack Jumpers. Any of those sort of jump out?
Yeah, you got Mitch Norton to Brisbane as well.
Yes.
Todd Blanchfield back to Illawarra.
Yep.
So they're a couple big names. I think Nordo at Brisbane, I think, will be great for that club.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can figure whatever's going on there out and get back on board and be a playoff team again. So that'd be good.
I know he loved his time in Perth, but I get the feeling he's pretty happy to be back in Queensland at the same time.
Yeah, look, I think so. A bit closer to home.
Yeah.
Still a fair way away, but a bit closer to home. And no, that's good. Probably a bit of a change of scenery after the year he had. Will be great for him, and looking forward to seeing what he can do. Jace Kadee is another big one. Big movement.
Yeah.
Will be fun.
Yep.
Will be lots of fun. I think back into an environment that he knows very well. Yeah, look, Keanu to Perth. It's going to be interesting to see how he goes, because I feel the reason he was so successful up in Cairns was because of how Ford he coached.
Yes.
Right? Pump your tires up, pump your tires up, pump your tires up.
I'm not sure John really has the same reputation.
That's it. I'm not sure really is that kind of a coach. Yeah. Again, neither of them are right or wrong. It's just it's how you coach, right?
He also won't be the main man on this team either.
No.
This is Bryce Cotton's team.
It definitely is Bryce Cotton's team, and you got a couple other pieces around that are fairly important to that roster. So, look, I think it'll be a really good challenge for Keanu. And it will be a really good challenge for the coaching staff as well to figure out, how he is most successful and how to coach him and bring the best out of him. Yeah. So that'll be really good to see, I think. DJ Hogue, he's
massive for Sydney.
That's a huge signing with Zave leaving.
Kind of similar players in a lot of ways in the role that they play. I know that one's probably a 3, one's a 4, but in terms of the control that they have at both ends of the floor, if you're going to replace Zave with somebody, he's probably the closest you could get.
I think so. And look, there's stuff that DJ will give you that Zave wouldn't, but vice versa as well. So, I think that's going to be interesting for their coaching staff to figure out how to fill those gaps as well. But he's a massive get for them. It's probably one of the bigger gets of the season.
Yes, absolutely. All right, Cody, let's take a deep breath. When we come back, let's talk about your big decision and maybe reflect back on your career a little bit.
Sounds good.
Okay, Cody, back on Hoop 7's basketball hustle. One thing over the last couple of years doing this show with you is that talking about yourself isn't something that you're overly fond of, but if you can bear with me a little bit, because you do only retire once.
Yes. Well, some people retire once.
I get the feeling you will only retire once.
Yep.
The thing that's stood out to me the more I've got to know you, and when you told me of your decision, it's that basketball's been the biggest part of your life, but it probably hasn't always been kind to you.
Yeah.
When you think about retiring, What was the major factor that sort of was going through your mind?
Probably just the mental drain that it's had on me for the past, really since college days even.
Yeah.
I think basketball has been the best thing that's ever happened to me, but also one of the worst things, if that makes sense to anyone. Yeah, look, it's given me some unbelievable opportunities that I would not have gotten anywhere else or gone down any other path. I got to travel the world. I got to, meet some of my best mates who, are still in the States.
Yeah.
And, all my teammates over that time have been unreal.
Yeah. There's nothing else you could have done in life that would have taken you to St. Louis for 4 years.
No, exactly. And that's probably the biggest thing for me is, going to St. Louis, meeting my wife, Lauren, having our son Chase, that stuff wouldn't have happened if I didn't go down the basketball path. And, it's been an interesting few weeks kind of reflecting back a little bit. And, the ridiculous outpouring of congrats when I actually announced it on my social media was crazy.
Yep.
And I didn't think that I would get a quarter of that.
Anyone surprise you that you heard from?
Oh, just like it was, I guess kind of everyone really, it was one of those things that, I didn't expect too many people to respond or anything like that to it. And I had hundreds of comments and messages and all sorts of stuff. And from, ex-teammates to, ex-competitors and opposition players from college. I had, guys from Xavier University, big Kenny Freeze who I played against, and even guys like that reaching out to me. And one of the guys in the admin at Xavier College that I'd gotten to know in my time in St. Louis, reaching out, and just all the people that, again, like I played against and competed against, and teammates, coaches, just general staff that I've been around. And it was, it was pretty cool and pretty special.
Without naming names, was there anyone that you were surprised that you didn't hear from?
Not really, because again, I went into it without really expecting anything out of it. So it was more of a, because look, I'd kind of kept it quiet, and the team had known since I made my decision earlier in the season, probably about 6 or 7 games in. And other than that, like my family knew, and that was about it. We've spoken about it since, and look, it's been a secret, but also not so much, because towards the end of the year, I started, telling a few people here and there, but not too many. So look, it's been a wild few weeks with the outpouring of messages, and I'm very appreciative of everyone. And it's certainly been an emotional couple of weeks.
It's a hard thing, because I mean, you've been such a brilliant basketball player, but I just don't know if you feel like basketball's been good for you overall. I mean, do you feel like playing basketball's made you happy?
Look, at times, for sure. But also at times, not at all. It's just kind of, and I think that's why, at the start of this season, it kind of dawned on me, like, why am I still doing this? As much as I absolutely love the Warwick Senators and my teammates, and I've got guys there that have been there since the start of my Senators career when I came back from college, and guys that have come on board in the past even 5-6 years or the past 2-3 years that are like family to me now. And everyone in that club, and no matter where any of them go, I'll always have their back, and I'll always be cheering for them and rooting for them to succeed. And look, I think it's certainly drained me mentally, and that's probably been the biggest thing. Because look, there are times where I'm excited to go to a game. I'm pumped. I'm like happy and like can't wait to get started. And then there's it kind of got to the point where it was majority of the time where it became like far out, we got to play tonight, or I got to play tomorrow, or far out, like, you know, training tonight. And I think that was kind of the tipping point for me of, well, if you're not enjoying it, why are you still doing it?
Sure.
You know, it's not a job anymore. You know, I'm playing for the fun and love of it. And if that's not how I feel about it, then what's the point?
If we trace right back, growing up in the family that you did with your dad, the legend that he was, did you feel the pressure to play basketball?
No. Yes and no, put it that way. Didn't really come from mum or dad at all. Yeah. They were always very open on play what you want. You got to play it. You play a sport, but play what you want.
And that's the same as you are with Chase now.
Exactly. And to be honest with you, I'm probably doing it a bit more of a disservice and trying to push him away from basketball a little bit. But yeah, look, it was always I tried nearly everything. You know, I played nearly everything, and it came down to footy and basketball, and it got to the point of wobble and then playing footies on a Sunday, so I had to make a decision because I got to the stage where I couldn't do both because I did both for a few years and loved it. And making that call to my footy coach back then sucked. It really sucked. And look, he was upset, but he understood as well. And from then on, it was basketball through and through, and then it became almost a full-time job since the age of 13, 14. So it's been a lot. It's been a massive part of my life. But look, I did always feel like, well, I need to play basketball. I think, if I had that same decision now, I'm not sure which way I'd go. And look, obviously that's not how it works. And to have to make that decision as a younger kid is huge. It's life changing and life altering, even though you don't know it at that point. So look, there was certainly pressures to play, but mum and dad, I thought, did a really good job of letting me decide. And again, that's what I want to do with Chase, and let him pick, do whatever he wants. So,
what's been the high point when you look back? What was the best part?
It's tough to pick out any singular thing, man. Like, obviously got to live out my dream of playing in the NBL. That was my big dream, growing up around the Wildcats and around Dad being part of the Wildcats, and I guess being a celebrity here in Perth, really. And he still is. You walk into the arena and there's still people come up, talk to him, ask for his signature, ask for a photo, all that sort of stuff. So he's a bloody celebrity here still. It's crazy.
Yes.
He likes to think he doesn't like the attention, but he loves it. I know he does. I know he loves it. Which is fair. Why wouldn't you, So, but, look, I think playing college ball, playing on a level that, growing up I didn't think was possible because it wasn't really an option back then. You had a few guys go and play college, Andrew Gaze and went to Seton Hall, but like other than that, it's like not many people do it.
And not only did you go to play college, you played in one of the biggest schools in the country.
Yeah, so getting to play Division 1 college, and to play Division 1 college, not go and sit and watch from the bench. I was lucky enough to go to a team that when I started, we were building, right? So we had one of the youngest teams in the country. We only had, when I came in as a freshman, we had freshmen and juniors, and there was, freshmen and sophomores, and then I think there was maybe one junior or senior, and he was a walk-on. So like we had all fresh faces, all younger guys that were bought in to build and be successful in the next couple of years, not straight away. My first year, I came in late, started playing during conference play. That's probably one of my bigger regrets, is not redshirting my first year. But I'd had 8 or 9 months of no basketball, and I just wanted to play. And again, being young and stupid at that point in my life, again, if I had that decision now, I'd redshirt 100% of the time. and get that extra year of eligibility. Yep. But again, that's that time of my life where I just wanted to play.
You probably also had nobody giving you the advice to do that, did you?
Look, yes and no. We had our coaching staff that were like, look, it's ultimately your decision.
But they probably also wanted you to
they did
to play.
Yeah, well, they absolutely did, and I felt like I wanted to go and help the team straight away. Yeah. So, and then it was my second year that we really struggled. That was kind of our real struggle year and rebuild year, and then from there on out, we were really good, really good. And then obviously being in St. Louis and like I mentioned before, being able to meet my now wife.
Well, do you ever talk about that? I mean, if you didn't go to college, you two would have never even known each other existed in the world.
It's on my mind all the time, man, all the time. So, I look back. I was talking to one of my really close mates in Rob Anschiller the other night about it, and I was talking about the schools that recruited me out of the AIS, and I went on 4 visits. Went on my official visits to schools, which was pretty cool. They flew me out from here and the family, and visited. Well, didn't visit UNLV, but we went to Vegas because that was on the list, and then they recruited someone while we were in the air on the way there. So, but that was still one of our stops, which was cool. So we got a few days off in between the visits.
Were you 18 yet?
I was 18, but it's 21. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but also visited Colorado, the Buffs, Wake Forest, and then St. Louis.
Yeah.
And if it was up to, if it was up to mum, dad, and my brother, they would have chosen Wake Forest. Okay. And I think that was probably more because of like the campus and the environment and I mean the facilities there are unbelievable. You walk into their practice facility, you got Tim Duncan up as big as the wall and all those guys that have been through there and been successful in their careers, and like again, it's a bigger stage. It's one of the biggest stages in college basketball to play in that conference in the ACC. So that was huge. But then for me, and in talking to Dad a bit about it as well, I thought St. Louis was a better fit for me. I thought that, and look, this is something that, if anyone's looking to go to college, you need to find that. Don't go to the biggest school. Don't go to the biggest school, because I would have gone to Wake Forest, and looking at the recruits they got over the next 4 or 5 years, I probably wouldn't have played a whole lot. I probably wouldn't have played much. I would have been miserable. I went to St. Louis and I played straight away. Embraced by the team, embraced by the culture there. And
I think it's a great point, because speaking to most people who have been to college from here, there's either two options. It's been the best experience of their life, or it's been their worst.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you've got to pick what fits you, right? How your lifestyle is, how you think you're going to fit in to the school, to the campus and all that sort of stuff, and the city you're in. And are you going to play? It's a long way to go not to play. We've seen it with guys like Jack White, who went to one of the biggest colleges of all time in Duke and played for Coach K and bided his time, did well, and then
became the captain.
It works for some people, but his game translates to that league and that team better than what mine would have at Wake Forest, right? And look, I freaking, count my lucky stars every day that I did pick St. Louis. Because it led to pretty much everything I have right now. Which is pretty massive.
It's a great thing to look back on. You're talking about dreaming of playing in the NBL, and then you signed at the Sydney Kings to play under Shane Hill. It's kind of similar to your first year at college, where you arrived mid-season, but ended up playing 127 games, 44 at the Kings, 83 at the Hawks. We don't need to sort of go over again what happened in the last season of the Hawks, because we've done that, and it didn't end the way you deserved it to end, but to have played 5 years in the NBL must be something you're still proud of.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I think that to be able to say that I played in the NBL is huge, and something that no one can ever take from me. Was it the path that I thought would happen when I was younger? No, but that never happens, right? What you think is going to happen in the future, especially with basketball, very rarely actually pans out, I often do think what would have happened if I went with other options. The Cats offered me a development spot out of college and, didn't take that. Thought I deserved a full contract somewhere and Shane Hill and the Kings offered me that. And then to play for a club like Sydney is unbelievable. And they were actually one of their social media account actually reached out and, reposted my retirement and said thank you and all that sort of stuff. And I think that's what Sydney do really well. And I think Perth do a good job of that too, in that, once you play for the club, you're part of the club, right?
Well, you got your play number. Was it last year? Your play number from the Kings?
Yeah. Which is again something that's really cool. Yeah. And look, I loved playing for Illawarra as well. I loved the culture there. I loved the city, how they embrace it and how they embrace us as a team, and being so close knit to the community there, I think was something that was very special. Helped that we had a heck of a couple years there and were tough and fun to play and fun to watch, and it helped bring the crowd out, right? So yeah, look, I mean, it is certainly something that's very special to me to say that I played in the NBL and something that, I do and will always hold pretty dear.
What was the experience like coming back to Perth to play in a grand final series? Even if you weren't playing for the Wildcats, you're still part of it. You're still out there in front of 12,000 people. What was that experience like?
It was wild. It was crazy. And look, I'd played enough times in Perth already and knew what the atmosphere was like. And then to be in a grand final series, it was magnified times about 100 again, and something you didn't think could happen. It felt a lot more like that college atmosphere that I'd felt, however many years before. To say that I've played in a grand final series, didn't quite get my ring, but that's okay. I played in a grand final series. I top scored for us in one of the games, and it was here that I top scored for us, and look, overshadowed by some bloke named Bryce Cotton who and look, the Wildcats shouldn't have even been in it that year. That was the year that Bryce came in. They were last on the ladder. Just made an absolute ridiculous run. And I mean, that's probably one of the most storied championships going around, really. Unfortunately, I'm on the wrong end of it. But look, it was unbelievable to be here. And then just to have the whole family be able to watch and support, and to see Dad grit and grind his teeth to be wearing an Illawarra Hawks hat. But no, look, I think that was something that was very fun, very fun.
The Warwick Senators, you grew up playing at the club. Your dad was a legend at the club. Your uncles had a great legacy at the club. And then to come back and play SBL basketball with them, they were still Sterling back then. They've since changed into Warwick. And to go on to be the captain and be one of the best players in the club's history. How do you put that into words?
Yeah, it's tough. To be able to say that, I played from as young as you could play in that club, from under 12s back then when I did play, all the way up to play pretty much every division, and then to be able to play in the SBL, NBL1 now, and be like a big part of the club and the success of the club, and I guess a big part of the rebuild of the club as well. There was a few years there where it was looking a bit bleak. And
well, going back to, I think it was 2012 when your dad took back over as coach, there was a chance that the club was going to fold completely.
Yeah, and to be able to say that I did have a hand in building it back up to where it is now, and to be able to do it with Dad for a portion of that as well is something special. Is something that I'm sure I'll look back on in, however many years' time and probably get quite emotional about it, and something that I've loved to do and I've loved to be part of. And like I said, it's such a family community there, and I think that moving forward, there's only success in the future for them if they keep going in this same trajectory. And I'm sure that I'll be back in the club probably in the next year or so, in some capacity. And yeah, look, it's a club that I certainly hold dear to my heart.
It's a debate for another day about the way that the league doesn't fully acknowledge what you did in 2020. But the fact that you won a championship, you were the captain, your dad was the coach. That's just every boy in their dad's dream, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And look, we got our little $5 trophies from the league that I have batting around somewhere. Everyone gets rings now.
Do you not even get a ring?
No, no. So we didn't get a ring. Club didn't get a ring. We got a little literally $5 trophies and a banner.
Yes.
Look, that's probably the thing that matters the most is the banner that hangs up in the rafters at the stadium that no one can take from us.
No, and I think that speaks the most about how everyone involved thinks that season was as genuine as every other season, and both you who won the men's title and Joondalup who won the women's have those banners hanging up in their stadiums.
Proudly, hanging up there proudly, and that's something that, like I said, they can't take from us. Whether they try and discount it, discredit it, in the books at every grand final series, they can do what they want with it. It doesn't matter because everyone knows. You walk into our stadium, you know that we won that. You walk into the Joondalup stadium, you know the women's team won that. And if it was something that was just a throwaway, then those banners wouldn't be hanging.
No.
A banner is a banner. We were one of the only competitions in the entire world, not just Australia, in the entire world going on. We were lucky enough to be able to play.
And really, there was nothing different about the competition except it was played under a different name.
Yeah, it was played under a different name, and
it was a little bit shorter.
It was, look, it was a bit shorter. You couldn't recruit because no one was allowed in and out of countries, right?
Yeah.
Which means, what's your local talent like?
Yep.
And there's no surprise the successful teams in that tournament were the ones that had great local cause, right?
Yep.
Yeah, look, I'm super proud of that. It's something that to be the captain of that team, have dad coaching, to have, some of the guys I played with who we still talk about that. Guys like Noor Manyang, who's over in Victoria playing right now, we're still close and we still talk about that all the time. Like, that team we had was unbelievable. If we had been able to keep that team together and add some pieces around it.
Well, if Corbin could have stayed healthy, he had a hell of a grand final.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Game.
Man loves the big game. Loves the big games. Yeah, who knows how many championships we could have won. If we had that same core and added a couple imports around it, unreal. We were lucky enough to still have Justin King, but he was a local at that point. So that didn't matter. Yeah, so that was certainly a very special year.
Talk to me about your last game. So you lost your final to the Joondalup Wolves, but you had a hell of a game.
Yep.
You were probably the best player on the court in a lot of ways. So the fact that you know that you were still playing so well in your last game, you hit your last ever shot that you will take.
Yep.
How do you look back on that now?
Oh, look, with a bit of frustrations, honestly. It sucks to lose your last game, but there's not a whole lot of people that can say that they won their last game of their career. But look, to say that I made my last shot's pretty cool.
Yes.
Again, not many people can say that.
No.
So that's pretty special. But look, it was frustrating. Joondalup just got the better of us, really.
And they went on to make a grand final.
They did. So, we had our chances. We had our chances, but it was, just not meant to be, mate. I think, we kind of hit a few lulls, and that's frustrating, and not much we can do about it. But look, it was pretty crazy because obviously it was Trig's last game as well.
Yes.
So locker room was fairly emotional afterwards. Yeah, it was upsetting. It was a bit of relief. It was the start of a bit of reflection. It was a whole array of emotions going into that. And
what about having your family sitting courtside under on the baseline for the whole game? Was that
it was
cool?
good. Yeah, it was good. We organised those for them, and that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Had Lauren and Chase behind our bench cheering. And look, it was good to have them there. I'm glad they were there.
Some players you see, it's a little bit sad at the end of their career because you can kind of get the feeling that they played a little bit too long. When you always look back on your career now, will you be pretty proud of the fact that by the time you finished, you were still one of the best players in the league you were playing in.
Yeah, look, and that's something that I wanted to do for sure. Is I wanted to go out still playing at a good level. I didn't want to be one of those people that others looked at and were like, why is he still playing? He should have retired 2-3 years ago. I don't think that I physically was probably ready to retire. I think I've still got a couple decent years left in me. I think the past few games probably proved that a little bit.
Yes. It's also nice knowing that you're not hobbling into retirement. That you're still going to be reasonably healthy.
Well, that's it. So that's something that.
So getting around the golf course won't be too hard.
Exactly. But yeah, look, it's pretty cool to be able to go out on my own terms, and again, something that I did want. So yeah, that's definitely pretty special.
Above everything else, are you just looking forward to a break from basketball?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Like I said, it's been the best and probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me is basketball. Which, I mean, for younger people don't quite understand that yet. But, some of the guys that are retired would completely understand. It's been something that I've fallen in love with, something that I've despised, and it's given me the whole array of emotions throughout the whole journey. But I'm so thankful for it because, again, it's given me everything I have today. Amazing family, just ridiculous life experiences, and to say that I've travelled the world playing for Australia is again, something that I do look back on and reflect and say that I was extremely lucky, and lots of time and effort and energy and blood and sweat and tears and every other cliche you can think of that have gone into it. But yeah, look, it's been a heck of a journey, but upset it's over, but also relieved that it's over as well. So
when you think about 2024 now, knowing that you don't have to plan everything around a basketball season, what's the one thing you're most looking forward to being able to do, especially probably next winter?
Yeah, geez, it's a tough one. I honestly haven't looked that far ahead. Maybe actually go away with my family. Yeah, I haven't been able to do that.
No.
So, because once basketball finishes is when my work life cranks up.
Yep.
And that's the busy time of year for me at work. Between kind of now and February, March, and then all of a sudden work dies down, and then season's here. Okay, let's crank it back up. Yeah. So just the ability to be like, all right, let's go away for the weekend, I think is going to be something that I'm really looking forward to.
Yep. All right, that was a lot to get through.
Was a lot, man.
Let's take a deep breath, and when we come back, we'll wrap up the show and have a little bit of a look towards what we're expecting this NBL season coming up.
Sounds good, man.
All right, Cody. You'll be glad to know that it might be time to not talk about yourself too much anymore for the rest of the show.
Move on.
So back on Hoop 7's basketball hustle. The NBL1 seasons across the country. I think the standard of the leagues right across the country has gone up and up every season. I think the way that the teams certainly from the East Conference in New South Wales have got a lot better, and we saw that the way that they performed in the national finals admirably. I think the central competitions got a lot better, and I think north and south with the quality and money that goes around those conferences are high quality, and I think we should be proud of what we've got here in the West as well. You took part in the NBL1 West competition. The Geraldton Buccaneers ended up beating the Joondalup Wolves in the grand final. I think everyone was amazed that it wasn't the Rockingham Flames even in the grand final. Yep. How did you look back on the season overall?
Yeah, look, the league, again, like the NBL, is just, especially in the West, the talent just keeps growing every year. It's awesome. And again, across all the NBL1 leagues, I do keep an eye on all the other leagues as well. And because I got friends that play in all of them, it's awesome to see the talent and just the level of imports that teams are able to get in now. Just really lifts that again. Yeah, look, congrats to Gero. I think they were certainly one of the standards all year over here in the West, and cool to see guys like Liam Hunt come back from the just horrific injury he had, to be able to come out and kind of turned that game on its head,
Yeah,
that
he
grand
did.
final game on
Absolutely
its
did.
head,
Yeah.
and win it.
I want to get your thoughts on him because if we go back 3 years, he broke his leg in the most horrific way, and he was told he would be lucky to run again, let alone play basketball again. And even now, it's still not 100%.
No.
I don't know if you've seen him post game, but
it's not good.
Yeah, I mean, he's dealing with a lot.
Yeah.
The fact that he's able to come back and be one of the best players in the league is an amazing performance. Not only that, before COVID hit and before the injury, he was about to go and play professionally in Europe for the first time.
Yep.
And the injury took that away from him, and he thought he would never get that chance. Not only has he now won another championship in Geraldton, but he's now headed off to Germany to take up another professional contract. It's an amazing story.
It is. It's a heck of a story, and look, unbelievable. It's just it's really cool to see. All the best to him and his family in Germany. I think that's going to be something that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And again, to be able to say that you've gone and played in the league in Germany professionally is huge. So look, hopefully he can get his body, keep moving that forward and getting it right, and he doesn't have to sit in an ice bath from between practices.
Yes. I remember last time we spoke, you talked about how if you came up against anyone during the finals, you felt like you could win, except against Rockingham. You didn't know how to beat them. How amazed were you that they didn't make the grand final, and they also went on to lose the grand final of the national finals? Yeah,
look, it was one of those things that you needed to catch them on their night where they're not all firing, right? Because, I mean, the talent that they had was unreal, right? I think that we certainly had our ways to beat them, but each time we played them, they had someone else just firing and someone else just – the last game of the season, Cody Hill was the one came out and hit like 5 straight in the last 2-3 minutes of the second quarter and turned its game on its head, you know? So I think Joondalup caught them on their night and took advantage. And look, I'm not sure how healthy Devondrick was. I don't know if he was 100%.
I'm pretty sure he's either going in for surgery or has gone in for surgery since, and he's got a little bit of a rehab process to go through this off-season.
Yeah. And look, that's, you know, to win playoff games does come down to a bit of luck as well. You know, you do have to have a bit of luck on your side.
And this is still a guy who, in the national finals, grand final, he still had, I think it was 38 points and hit 9 3-pointers.
Yeah.
So doing
still
that when he's not healthy is a hell of an effort.
And he's one of the best imports the league's ever seen. So I think he's too good for this league. He needs to be earning some sort of money somewhere, and I think he's good enough to be able to do that. But yeah, look, I think Joondalup's roster was stacked as well. You know, they had a heck of a roster, and they brought in Giannis, the big Greek, and that 3 that he hit late in that game was
on the offensive rebound, and he was just waiting up at the top of the 3-point line.
And as soon as it left his hand, I was like, why is he shooting that? Because there was still 8 or 9 seconds on the shot clock. So you can pull that out.
No, you're right, because Rockingham still had time up the other end.
They did. And man, I mean, the past couple games of the season and playoffs, I thought he really proved his worth, and he was really solid for them. And
he's a 7'2" big man.
Yep.
And he's a local.
Yeah.
And I spoke to him leading into the grand final, and he talked about how it's his dream to play professionally in Australia because he's done it in Greece. So he wants to, in the 2 countries where his parents are from, he wants to be able to play professionally. Do you think he would have an NBL future because he can be counted as a local?
Oh, look, I think there's probably room for him on a roster somewhere for sure. Again, the NBL is just a whole nother level again. Yeah. But look, he proved that he can pass the ball, he can shoot the ball, and you can't teach that height.
No.
So, you know, that's something that, look, I'm sure there's going to be a team willing to take a chance on him, and that'd be pretty cool to see. But no, look, Joondalup's roster was put together very well.
Yeah.
So 2 deserving grand finalists, and Jero just too good on the day.
We had the national finals that were played here at Joondalup. I don't know how much you saw of it, but do you think it's a concept that's worth persevering with? Because it was disappointing on the men's side that we didn't see the NBL players come again. So Nathan Sober didn't come to play with Ipswich. Both Mitch McCarron and Anthony Drumick didn't come to play with West Adelaide. Knox still won, even though Mason Peatling didn't come to play.
With 7 players.
Yeah, 7 players for the whole week. And they overran Rockingham in the grand final despite how exhausted they were. It was different on the women's side where everyone was at full strength except for Northside, who didn't have Courtney Woods. All the other WNBL players in the competition came to play, so that was better. Bendigo Braves' amazing performance to go through their whole year, both in the NBL1 South and then the national finals, without losing a game. But what do you think of the concept?
It's really tough, and I see it as a really cool little concept, and I love it because it's something that I've spoken about since I came back from college. Yes. And that's mainly because of all the shit talk I'd get from everyone over East being like, NBL over there or the SBL then isn't good, blah, 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 blah. You know, your stats are all padded because you play 48 minutes, blah, blah, blah. Yep. And the constant battles I had with everyone saying how good this league is over here, now that it's a national competition, you know, people seeing that, it's actually a pretty good league over here, and you know, every league in the country is legit. And to have eyes on all of them, this national championship is a good concept, but I don't really see any advantage for the NBL guys to come and play. Yeah. A weekend where you fly in, you get off a plane, you have to play, some teams have to play that night.
Yes. I think all the teams flew in on the Friday and played Friday night.
Yeah. So you fly in the morning, you play that night, then you rest up, sleep, play again the next day, rest up, sleep, play again the next day.
And then probably fly out Sunday night and then go back to your NBL preseason training Monday morning.
So you've got a entire week of preseason, and for those that haven't been or don't really know what an NBL preseason is like, it's hell. Yeah. It is a lot. Yep. It is a lot. You are in the gym lifting as heavy and hard as you possibly can. Then you're on the court 2 times minimum a day. Yep.
And probably running until your legs just can't go anymore.
Pretty much. And then, you know, you might get the weekend off. Yep. You might get a Sunday off. Yep. It could be that you go all the way through to Saturday, or that depending on how your team is structured, you could have a day off during the middle of the week, then go for another 3 days, and have a day off on the weekend, then go for another 2 or 3 days. Just depends on the team, right? Then to have to go and fly, play potentially 3 intense games, and then fly back and start preseason again, there is zero advantage to it. Yeah. Because all that is going to do is injure someone, right? Yep. And look, like I said, I love the concept of it. I think it's great because it brings everyone, all the teams together, all the champions together to be able to play against each other. But you're not going to get NBL guys on board, right? You're not going to get them on board until it's something that is still in the off-season of the NBL, which I don't see ever happening.
Well, I don't think we can move it forward any further because if you start it any earlier, you're going into the end of the NBL and WNBL seasons, and also you're not going to be able to get the players coming back from Europe in time. Yep. And if you end it, so I mean, I don't think you can move it forward any further. So I actually don't think there's a solution to that problem.
I don't think so either. And look, I still think they need to persevere with it because it gives the locals and the younger players that national spotlight. Yep. You know, we saw some of those young guys from Knox just absolutely ball out in that grand final. It's a good concept, and I do think they need to stick with it. But I don't see a world where your Nathan Sobies and your Kiddies and your Blanchfields and
Drimmick,
McCarran, Pete Ling, all those guys, I don't see a world where they come and play because
I think in fairness, it's probably only development type players that might be allowed to fly.
Maybe. And realistically, if you're a development player, you want to be in and around that team as much as you possibly can to prove your point, to be around. So interesting. Yeah. Interesting concept, but look, I think it is good. It is good. I think they do need to stick with it.
The World Cup, Cody. I think we all expected coming out of the Olympics that the Boomers were going to be competing for a medal. Yeah. They didn't make it to the quarterfinal stage in the end. Some disappointing losses. The one against Slovenia to knock them out in the end was disappointing, but even during the group stage, it wasn't overly convincing.
No.
Jock Landale. The loss of Jock Landale on the eve of the departure to Japan obviously hurt, and he would have made a significant difference to be the starting centre on the team. But, I'm not sure if he would have solved all of the problems.
No, I don't think so. I think that It's a tough one because it's for Gorge. It's kind of a new roster for him, right? And they get thrown together a couple of weeks before the World Cup.
Well, this is the first time Josh Giddey's ever been given the reins of the national team.
Yeah, exactly. It's his first World Cup. It was a lot of these guys' first World Cups, and representing Australia on this stage, on this size stage.
Yeah.
It's a lot for young guys, right? The spotlight is massive, and playing against the best players in the world is huge, right? I don't think they quite gelled properly. I think they're missing a bit of shooting.
Yes.
So teams could really pack the paint on them. We've got some of the best players in that whole World Cup are getting into the paint.
Yep.
Doesn't help when you run into 5 defenders because we don't really have those spot-up shooters.
Well, it's an interesting point because the shooting did stand out to me. Joe Ingles is usually a great shooter. He didn't have a great shooting tournament. So you can give him a pass and assume that he'll shoot better at the next tournament.
Absolutely.
But you had Chris Golding, who's in the team to shoot, getting DNPs.
And I'm not sure whether his knee was still an issue or not.
Well, then he shouldn't be there.
I agree. But that's my point is he got a couple of garbage minutes at the end of the Slovenia game when they were already down 20-something, right? Yes. Apart from that, we hadn't seen him all tournament. So my point on that was if his knee's bad enough that he shouldn't be playing, then he wouldn't have played those minutes, right? So I'm not sure what was going on. I think there was times where he probably could have been thrown in there and just been like, look, we need a spark. Go out and jack some up, As soon as you catch it, let it ride. That's what you do. That's what he's done for his whole career, and he's one of the best in our whole league at it. I think that's something that they need to kind of figure out a bit is their shooting. But they do have that whole new roster. Like I said, it's a lot of guys that haven't played together, that got a 2-week training camp to be inducted into the culture, to be inducted into the Paddy and Joe era of the Boomers, and figure out what it takes to represent the country and on that level. Never doubted their fight or anything like that, and that's something you never do with the Boomers. But I just don't think they gelled well. Guys like Giddey, who now being used to the NBA court, needs to figure out how he can be more productive on a FIBA court. You don't have that same space. You don't have that same space once you get past your defender, right? Because you've got those help guys there. And that's something the USA team and the Canada team have to figure out too, right? So, look, it's not giving them a pass because the way that we see the Boomers now is it's a medal or bust for us, right? That's the quality of players we have on the roster.
And I haven't seen the final standings, but I think they'd be lucky to be top 10 in the end, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they were maybe 9th or something like that.
Yeah.
That's a massive miss on the World Cup.
Personnel-wise, the Olympics are now not far away. They're in Paris next year. Do you make changes personnel-wise? Jock Landale naturally comes in, but do you keep most of this 12?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough one. I think
Matisse Thybulle's the interesting one for me.
He is.
He needs to be that X-factor energy guy on the team, the best defender on the team. We didn't see any of it at this World Cup.
No.
Does Bryce Cotton become an option?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I'm not sure. I think
I have my doubts because I don't know if he has a role alongside Giddey and Mills.
No, I don't think so either. And it's a really tough one, and it's something that I don't envy the coaching staff having to pick a squad out of the talent that we have now around the world. So, I really don't know. We saw a typical Ben Simmons statement on, I want to play. He said that for the past 6 or 7 competitions and bows out last minute. So
if he plays, he takes the ball out of Josh Giddey's hands.
He does.
Is that actually a good thing?
No, I don't know. I don't know. So I think he could help defensively. But that's, he certainly doesn't help our shooting woes, does he?
No.
Look, I do think we need to find some form of shooting. I think that needs to be a bit of an emphasis.
Well, I think if Golding doesn't find minutes in this tournament, he's not going to next year.
No.
So maybe it's not Golding.
Maybe it's a DJ.
Possibly. Absolutely. He could be the perfect option.
Yeah.
Because like you said before, not only is he a great shooter, but he's a scorer too and can just create and give you that extra option. I felt there were times, especially in the Germany game, the defense of Matthew Dellavedova would have been valuable in this tournament. But if he didn't make it in this tournament, he's not going to the Olympics either.
No, he won't. And it is probably getting to that point where those older guys are on the tail end of their international career.
You would think the Olympics will be the end for Paddy and Joe. You would think.
You would think so. You would think so. And yeah, which sucks because the era from those guys has been unbelievable, and they've been a massive reason why the Boomers are where they are now.
It's not only the success; it's the culture they've created. I mean, the Boomers' culture is not such a strong thing.
Not even looking at on-court success. Yeah. It's all the culture of it, and that helps to convert to the on-court success. But it's all what it means to be a Boomer, what it means to represent the country, which is wicked. And I'm hoping that those two stay on board for that side of things, even if they're not playing, which I think they will. Yeah. I think they certainly will. So, yeah, look, I think it's going to be interesting. It'll be very interesting to see what happens, but I think there will be a few changes.
Last question on the Boomers. Brian Goorjian has said that he wants to be the coach for the Olympics, and he's locked in for it, and he's lost his club that he was coaching, so he's now fully able to throw everything into coaching the Boomers. Yep. But should he be the coach for the Olympics?
Look, I think so. Like I said, he didn't really get a decent run at this World Cup. New squad. He had a couple of weeks to implement his whole systems and all that sort of stuff, and that's not enough to be able to compete properly on a world stage.
And in fairness to him, they then lost the player that everything was built around in Jock.
Well, exactly. And again, comes down to that luck, right? Yeah. There is luck involved in basketball. As much as people don't think it, there is luck involved in it. And look, I think if they do a similar thing at the Olympics, then I think it's something that, BA will look at and be like, all right, well, do we need to go down a different path? But look, Gorge has proved himself time and time again and tenfold from his coaching career. So to call for his head after one tournament, there was a bit of a bump in the road, I think is probably going a bit early on that. Yep. But look, I think there's plenty of unbelievable coaches waiting in the wings. Trevor Gleeson probably top of that list to take over the reins of the Boomers. Yep. So it depends on what they want. But look, I can probably see Gorge coaching the Olympics for sure.
I think it would be harsh on him to take it off him.
Very much so.
And I think it's probably going to be his swan song as well as Joe and Paddy's, you would think. So, all right, Cody, that was a lot to digest.
Yes, it was.
So we've got all of that out of the way. We'll figure out what we're going to do this season here on Hoop 7's Basketball Hustle, and we'll talk about our plans and sort all that out within the next couple of weeks because the NBL season's very close, Cody. But we'll be in touch again soon. We'll bring everyone up to date on what's happening in the world of the NBL. But for now, I'll wrap things up for this week's show. And I just want to give a shout out to Corey Homicide Williams, Cody. Horrible news that we've now learned that he's battling stage 4 of colon cancer. It's not good at all. He was a fantastic player, but over the last 5, 6, 7 years, he's become the face of basketball in Australia. So he's been a great ambassador for the NBL and for the basketball in this country. So let's hope that he finds a way through this and can get back to full health. And I wanted to just give a shout out to Corey to wrap things up, and you probably want to do the same, Cody.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, massive thoughts out to Corey. Hearing that news that Trev dropped on the commentary the other night, I was just shocked, and Laura and I were both just like jaws hit the floor, and that's it's something that is really awful, and something that we hope that he battles through, and I'm sure he will, because he's certainly a fighter. So look, all thoughts out to him and his family, and wishing nothing but the best for him.